Many of us begin our personal growth journey with big dreams. We want to transform to become stronger, more disciplined, more successful. The drive is sincere. The intentions are good. But somewhere along the way, something starts to feel off. The more we try to improve, the more exhausted we become. The more we learn, the more inadequate we feel. It's not that we aren't trying hard enough. It's that sometimes we're trying in the wrong way. Growth is not supposed to feel like a punishment. And yet, it often turns into an endless chase, pushing ourselves to be better without pausing to ask whether this better version of us is actually true to who we are. As women, we're especially prone to setting high expectations for ourselves to do more, be more, prove more. But development should feel like coming home to yourself, not escaping yourself. So today, let's take a moment to step back, to reflect, to question the habits we've accepted as productive and gently ask, are they truly helping us or just keeping us busy? Are we building ourselves up or silently breaking ourselves down in the name of growth? Sometimes the most powerful move is not to sprint forward, but to slow down and realign. 1. Always force yourself to be productive, anytime, anywhere. Let's be honest, how many of us feel guilty for resting? For not reading a book, not checking off a to-do list, or simply spending a day doing nothing? In a world that glorifies hustle culture, it's easy to believe that if we're not constantly working, we're falling behind. This belief is deeply rooted in modern society. We're taught to value productivity above all else. We're praised for waking up early, pushing through fatigue, and staying endlessly busy. But somewhere along the way, we forget an important truth. Being productive doesn't mean being constantly active. Business doesn't always equal effectiveness. When we force ourselves to stay in motion 24/7, we risk more than just physical exhaustion. Chronic overworking slowly chips away at our mental clarity, creativity, and joy. It leads to burnout, a state where everything feels heavy, where even the things we used to love become draining. We might think we're being strong, but in reality, we're just running on empty. That's why it's so important to rethink how we approach productivity. Instead of trying to be on all the time, we can start by scheduling rest as a non-negotiable part of our routine. Rest is not something we earn after we've pushed ourselves to the limit. It's a basic need. Just like we plan meetings or deadlines, we can plan our breaks. We can make room for silence, solitude, and stillness. And not choosing to rest isn't laziness, it's wisdom. Strategic laziness, even taking time to recharge, is what allows us to perform better, not just in work, but in life. It's how we prevent burnout, how we stay emotionally grounded, and how we maintain a sense of meaning in everything we do. So here's a gentle reminder for anyone who's been chasing constant productivity. You're not falling behind just because you take a break. You're not less ambitious because you choose balance. In fact, some of the most effective and fulfilled people are the ones who know when to slow down. Rest isn't the opposite of growth. It's what makes growth sustainable. Let's stop wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. Let's start honoring our energy, our boundaries, and our well-being. Because the goal isn't to do more, it's to live well and to do what we do with heart, not just hustle. 2. When comparing yourself to others becomes a trap. At some point, many of us have looked at someone successful and thought, I wish I were more like them. It's a natural instinct to seek inspiration, to observe those who seem to have figured it out. We tell ourselves that comparison is a form of motivation. And sometimes it is, but only if we do it the right way. The danger lies in how we compare. When we start measuring our progress against someone else's timeline, it can feel like we're never enough. We see someone achieving something big, and instead of feeling inspired, we feel small. We wonder if we've wasted time. We question our worth. And slowly, without even noticing, we begin shaping our life according to someone else's narrative. But here's the truth we often forget. No two journeys are the same. We all come from different starting points. We carry different responsibilities, have different dreams, and walk at different paces. Just because someone else is ahead in one area doesn't mean you're behind in life. You're simply on your own unique path. This doesn't mean we should avoid looking at others completely. Comparison isn't inherently bad, but it has to be conscious and intentional. Instead of using others as a standard, use them as a reference. Ask yourself, what specifically about this person moves me? Is it their discipline, their courage, their creativity? Once you pinpoint that, you can begin asking deeper questions. How can I apply that quality to my own life in a way that fits who I am? Turning comparison into reflection is powerful. It helps you grow without losing sight of your own values. It allows you to be both inspired and grounded, motivated, but still connected to your core. So the next time you find yourself measuring your worth against someone else's story, pause. Remind yourself that you're not here to compete, you're here to become. To evolve in a way that feels honest and sustainable to you. Because success isn't about running faster. It's about running in the right direction, your direction. 3. The illusion of learning without action. We often equate learning with progress. And in a world that rewards knowledge and self-improvement, it's tempting to believe that the more we learn, the more we grow. Many of us take notes religiously, enroll in course after course, and read endless articles. Our shelves are full, our digital libraries even fuller, and yet something feels stuck. The truth is, learning without action creates an illusion of growth. We feel productive because we're busy with self-improvement, but unless that knowledge is applied, it remains passive. We become collectors of ideas rather than users of wisdom. I've been there myself, notebooks filled with quotes and theories, but when faced with a challenge, I still felt unprepared. It's not because the lessons weren't valuable. It's because they were never truly integrated into how I live and think. The brain learns best not just by hearing or reading, but by doing. Real understanding happens when you take a piece of insight and try to live it, test it, tweak it, and make it your own. Passive consumption leads to temporary awareness. Active experimentation leads to lasting change. So how do we shift? Start by doing less, but doing it deeper. For every one idea you learn, commit to practicing it in 3 different ways. For example, if you study a lesson on setting boundaries, don't just highlight the key points. Try applying it in a conversation with a friend, a colleague, and maybe even yourself. See how it feels, where it challenges you, and how you can refine your approach. Another helpful habit, write things in your own words. After you've consumed a new idea, take a moment to rephrase it from your perspective. Then, map out a small way to apply it this week. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Learning should be a bridge to action, not a comfort zone. Knowledge becomes power only when it's used. So let's stop overloading ourselves with more to know, and instead, start giving ourselves the space to grow with what we already have. 4. Setting goals that are too big in too short a time. In moments of motivation, it's easy to set huge, ambitious goals. We want to change our lives, fix everything at once, or leap into the next version of ourselves overnight. The idea of transformation is exciting. But sometimes in our rush for results, we forget one simple truth: real change takes time. When we aim too high too fast, we often run into a wall of disappointment. The gap between our current reality and our imagined future can feel overwhelming. And when results don't show up quickly, we start questioning ourselves. Am I not good enough? Am I doing something wrong? That frustration can quietly turn into discouragement, and before we know it, we quit altogether. But the problem isn't the dream, it's the pace. Growth isn't a sprint. It's a slow build, like planting a tree. You don't see progress every day, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening beneath the surface. Just because something is invisible doesn't mean it's ineffective. One of the most powerful shifts I've made is learning to break big goals into micro steps. Instead of focusing on the end result, I focus on the next doable move. Something small enough to complete today, yet meaningful enough to carry me forward. Whether it's writing a single paragraph instead of finishing a whole project, or choosing one healthy meal instead of overhauling my entire lifestyle, small wins compound. It also helps to celebrate these tiny victories. We tend to dismiss them because they feel insignificant compared to the larger goal, but they matter. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. So here's what I remind myself: sustainable growth looks boring. It looks like repetition, like patience, like showing up even when things move slowly. But over time, it builds something strong, something real. Let's stop expecting ourselves to leap. Let's start honoring the quiet power of one step at a time. 5. Drowning in self-help. When consumption becomes a distraction. There was a time when I believed that the more I consumed, the more I would grow. Book after book, video after video, podcast after podcast, all on personal development. It felt productive. I was working on myself after all. But eventually, I noticed something unsettling. Despite all the knowledge I had gathered, not much had actually changed in my life. It's easy to fall into the trap of consuming self-help content endlessly, thinking we're improving. But if nothing translates into action, if our habits remain the same, then all that knowledge becomes intellectual clutter, noise in our minds that distracts us more than it serves us. The truth is, knowledge that isn't applied becomes mental junk. It can even backfire, making us feel like imposters, like we should already have it all figured out just because we've read about it so much. We confuse knowing with doing and awareness with change. The problem isn't the content itself. Some of it is brilliant and life-changing. The issue lies in how we engage with it. If we read just to know but not to live differently, then we're building castles in the air. Personal development isn't about collecting ideas, it's about transforming how we show up in the world. One shift that helped me is approaching self-help like a researcher. Instead of passively absorbing information, I pause and ask, what is this really saying? How does it relate to my life? Can I rephrase it in my own words? And more importantly, can I try it this week, even just once? It also helps to be selective. We don't need more information. We need more integration. I now choose to engage with fewer resources, but more deeply. Sometimes revisiting one meaningful insight and applying it well is more powerful than consuming 5 new ones. At the end of every video or page, I ask myself, what can I actually do with this? What change, however small, can I make today? In a world flooded with advice, wisdom lies not in consuming more, but in living better. A sustainable path to growth, coming home to yourself. In the pursuit of personal development, it's easy to get lost in the noise. The podcasts, the morning routines, the vision boards, the endless lists of goals. For many women, growth becomes something we chase to meet an invisible standard, to be more likable, more competent, more desirable. We try to become the version of ourselves that others will applaud. But in the process, we often forget to ask the most important question. Is this making me feel more like me? Sustainable growth doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself, to that grounded, quiet part of you that knows what truly matters. Sometimes we need to pause and ask, am I doing this because I deeply want to, or because I believe I should? This is not an easy question. We've been conditioned to associate value with visibility, achievement, and approval. But true peace doesn't come from external validation, it comes from internal alignment. When what you do matches what you value, there's a different kind of confidence that arises. It's not loud or performative, but it's steady, and it lasts. Another trap we fall into is treating self-care as a luxury, something we can only indulge in after ticking off a long to-do list. But that mindset is not only unsustainable, it's harmful. Rest, nourishment, movement, journaling, prayer, quiet time. These are not rewards. They are your foundation. They're not extra. They're essential. You wouldn't wait for your car to break down before giving it gas or checking the engine. Why treat your body and mind differently? Caring for yourself isn't about weakness or indulgence. It's about responsibility. When you honor your needs consistently, you create the stability needed for everything else to flourish. You plant seeds that grow not just for a season, but for a lifetime. It's also crucial to remember that speed does not equal success. The world often measures progress by how fast we move, how quickly we reach milestones, how many things we achieve in a short span of time. But meaningful growth doesn't work that way. It's not a sprint. It's a lifelong relationship with your evolving self. Some seasons are about movement. Others are about stillness, healing, or recalibration. All of them matter. You might walk slower than others. You might take longer to figure out what you want. But if you're walking in the direction that feels true, you will arrive, and the destination will feel like home. In the moments when you feel overwhelmed, lost, or as if everyone is passing you by, don't force yourself to run faster. Instead, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what really matters to me right now? Or, am I living in alignment with what I believe in? Sometimes a quiet afternoon of reflection can do more for your clarity than a month of over-planning. Tuning in is not a step back. It's a recalibration. It's how we reconnect with what's real. Ultimately, real growth isn't about becoming a shinier version of yourself for others to admire. It's about becoming someone you can trust, a woman who honors her pace, who listens to her inner voice, who chooses presence over perfection. Someone who doesn't hustle for worthiness but walks in self-respect. You don't have to be the loudest, the fastest, or the most impressive. You just have to be you, real, rooted, and whole. You're not growing to prove yourself. You're growing to believe in yourself, and that is enough. In a world that often feels like a race, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-improvement out of fear of being left behind. Fear of not measuring up, or fear of missing out. But growing as a person should never come from a place of anxiety or comparison. Instead, the truest motivation to better ourselves is rooted in the understanding that we deserve to live a meaningful, fulfilling life. It's about honoring our worth and stepping into the fullness of who we are. Trying to improve yourself because of fear creates a shaky foundation. When the driving force is external pressure or a sense of inadequacy, growth feels exhausting and unsustainable. It becomes less about genuine transformation and more about survival. On the other hand, when you recognize your inherent value and nurture yourself with kindness, growth blossoms naturally. It becomes a journey of self-love rather than self-judgment. The process of personal development is often misunderstood as a race to reach an ideal version of ourselves, one that others would admire or approve. But real growth is far more subtle and profound. It is a journey of kindness to ourselves first and foremost. This means accepting where we are now, without harsh criticism, and giving ourselves the grace to evolve at our own pace. Being kind to yourself means acknowledging your efforts, even when progress seems slow or invisible. It means celebrating small victories and learning from setbacks without shame. It means listening to your needs and respecting your boundaries. When you treat yourself with compassion, you build resilience and create a safe space for true growth. Moreover, personal development is not about perfection or constant productivity. It is about balance and presence. It's about knowing when to push forward and when to pause, reflect, and rest. These moments of stillness are not signs of failure. They are essential for replenishing your spirit and aligning with your authentic desires. Choosing to grow because you believe in your own worth changes everything. It shifts the focus inward where the most meaningful changes happen. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of comparison and competition. It invites you to live intentionally with purpose and joy. The truth is, you do not have to prove your value to anyone. Your worth is not determined by achievements, appearances, or the approval of others. It is inherent and unchanging. When you accept this truth, growth becomes a gentle unfolding rather than a stressful chase. So don't strive to be better because you fear being left behind. Strive to be better because you know you deserve a life rich with meaning, peace, and authenticity. Personal development is a lifelong journey, one that calls for patience, self-respect, and above all, kindness to yourself. Remember, being kind to yourself is not a reward, it's the foundation. When you nurture yourself with care and understanding, you become the person you were always meant to be. And that is the most beautiful form of growth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.